are several environmental and climate change problems associated with the use of synthetic fertilizers.
Well, there's a huge agricultural industry in California, not only with cows and but farming and, produce. And they use a lot of fertilizer, right? I mean, they use a lot of fertilizer. I mean, California produces a lot of food for the nation. But there's a problem with all these synthetic fertilizers, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there's lots of problems. First of all, they're very soluble. So what happens is that when it gets into the ground, a lot of it just leaches below into the groundwater. And if it doesn't leach, then a lot of times they'll be washed off the field, and then that will get into the waterways and everything. So that'll happen. And then also because it breaks down really quickly, some of it will go into the atmosphere as nitric oxide. So you got like a threefold problem from
climate change problem,
plus pollution just from using synthetic fertilizer.
Issue number 2. Biofertilizers are a much better source of plant nutrients as compared to synthetic fertilizers.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the way to go is biofertilizer, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But a couple things for soil health, definitely biofertilizer. Unlike synthetic fertilizers, biofertilizer has carbon in it, and that helps the soil health better because microorganisms can grow. And a lot of that microorganisms transfer those nutrients into the plant root system. And if you just have regular synthetic fertilizers, the plants, they'll get it, but when it's in a bioavailable form, the plants tend to do better. And so with biofertilizers, they degrade over time, and they don't get solubilized.
Issue number 3. Manure is multiversatile. It can be turned into compost, used in anaerobic digesters, or applied directly in the fields.
Yeah, so remember we were talking about some composting fertilizers and some manure fertilizers that you could probably use. How much of that do they use in California right now?
Oh, I don't know. They only use about 1/5 of that manure and they put it on the field, but the rest of it they have to transport other places, or they do anaerobic digesters. They use it there to produce power and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, but a lot of that they transport, I think they use for compost. So I would think that a good percentage of that is used in California as well in the fields.
Issue number 4. There are problems with relying on the phosphates contained in synthetic fertilizers. Biofertilizers will solve that problem.
Yeah.
And you were also talking about the phosphates. There's a problem with that as well if you continue to mine phosphates.
Yeah.
For the fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers.
Yeah, so most of the phosphate comes from phosphate rock, which is mined in different parts of the world, but there's only about 40 or 50 years left of that. So if you use biofertilizer, it's got that phosphorus in it, and it's more bioavailable. It's not soluble, and you don't have the problem with the supply of it.
Issue number 5. One solution to the fertilizer problem would be to mix synthetic with biofertilizers until we can make enough of the biofertilizer.
It seems to me there might be a better solution that you just mentioned, like let's not over-fertilize. Let's change our fertilizers to more of a, biofertilizers. This is not going to happen overnight, granted, but have you heard anything about them trying to do that at all?
No, I haven't. Countries like Australia have been doing research on this. They'll actually mix they'll mix some biofertilizer in with synthetic fertilizer. So to have the capacity to make all biofertilizer, I don't think is going to be easy to do. So it's more realistic to maybe mix in biofertilizer with the regular synthetic fertilizer.
That would be a help. That would be a start.
Issue number 6. Urban waste contains a lot of nitrogen in it as well that gets into the groundwater.
But
yeah, I think landfills is kind of an issue out in California too, because where you have a lot of urban waste too that have nitrogen in it that when they go into the landfill, it eventually gets into the water too, and it's a sizable amount. It's about half the amount of the synthetic nitrogen fertilizers that they have.
Okay.
Issue number 7. Over-fertilizing is causing the environmental problem with algal blooms, fish, and the dams.
Well, we're talking about this because they're talking about shutting down the dams, the hydroelectric dams that provide power to California. And I'm not sure that that's going in the right direction either. And they tend to over-fertilize with the synthetic fertilizers right now, right? And so maybe that could be monitored. I think that's also causing a problem with the dams too, right? I mean, California has hydroelectric power, and some of that is getting into the waterways and causing algae problems, right?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why they think it's a problem in California is that they're saying that a lot of the fish are dying because of the lack of oxygen in the water. So a lot of fish will just, die.
Right.
But that's because of the algal blooms from all the accumulation of the fertilizer that washes into there. They're saying it's from the dams, but I mean, that problem wouldn't happen if it weren't for the synthetic fertilizers.
Issue number 8. One way to protect contaminants going downstream from the dams is to put in silt fences.
Well, I think that's a better solution than shutting down the dams and trying to save the fish. Let's save the fish by not letting the fertilizers and synthetic fertilizers flow into the waterways. Let's stop some of that, and that would help, I would think, right? But maybe in some of the critical waterways where there's runoff, a lot of runoff from the cities, we could put up some silt fence to protect the inflow of those contaminants into the waterways. Silt fence is kind of like lets water through, but kind of tries to capture most of the topsoil and the silt that's there. And so, I mean, I think some of it will get through, but that might help a little bit too.
Issue number 9. Shutting down hydroelectric power in California won't help them achieve zero carbon emission free electricity.
Well, how much percentage of California I've heard gets anywhere between 16-18% of its power via hydroelectric. So all these other issues we're talking about, if they shut down almost 20% of their power, that's going to be a huge problem again. Now that they're getting rid of natural gas, they're doing a lot of things to reduce their power capacity if they go through with this, I think, and that might be a huge problem.
And I think California doesn't even consider hydroelectric as a renewable source, like the type of renewable sources they want to be 100% emission free by 2045. So
that's too bad.
So that's kind of, is that telling us that they want to do away with hydro? I don't know.
I don't
so
know
that's,
either.
That's kind
it's
of
probably, well, then they're going to have to make up another 20% above and beyond what they're already doing. So
yeah.
Issue number 10. It is questionable whether hydroelectric power causes some environmental problems while other renewable energy sources really do cause problems.
But, I do respect the fact that, they want to do this for environmental reasons. It's the dams and, and things. But they don't seem to be stopping the wind power for environmental reasons, and that has a problem, has some environmental problems. So, I don't know, it seems to be a little bit of they're picking on the dams for some reason. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, until next time, we're the Climate Change Brothers. We're signing off.